Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. WWE dropped a bombshell at SmackDown in 2025 when Cody Rhodes and John Cena squared off to sign their SummerSlam contract. What kicked off as a calm handshake instantly erupted when Cody blindsided Cena, tossed him through a table, and dramatically forced Cena to sign the street fight contract while chains rattled. The next thing you know, both went at it, chairs swung, mic stands flew, and it looked like a house show without rules. This wasn't just hype, it was storytelling metal. Cody's ruthless heel turn came into full bloom. He didn't just want the match, he made Cena submit on paper. Fans loved the violence, especially when the chair shot to Cena's back nearly stole the show. News sites called it chaotic and electric, the kind of segment that sells SummerSlam tickets. Some wondered if it was too intense for TV, especially with Cena's long-standing hero image. But hey, if you poke the Cenation leader, prepare for war. Narratively, it set up street fight rules as absolute, no disqualifications, no pinfall illusions. The chaos previewed the knockout battle to come. As a bonus, it gave both guys airtime, buzz, and big splash moments 3 weeks out. Bottom line, nothing says, this match will be brutal, quite like two guys beating each other just to sign the papers. CM Punk versus John Cena. Let's clear something up. CM Punk and John Cena did have one of the most legendary contract signings in WWE history, but despite all the tension and stares that could melt steel, it never actually broke into a brawl. This went down in 2011, just days before Money in the Bank, right after Punk's now iconic pipe bomb promo. The air was thick with drama. Punk, sitting cross-legged, verbally cooked Cena, Vince McMahon, and the entire WWE system. He talked about favoritism, the corporate machine, and threatened to walk out with the title. Cena, in return, stood his ground. No jokes, no goofball lines, just fire-eyed intensity. But here's the twist. No fists were thrown, no table flips, no mic shots to the head. Just words, and somehow that made it even more brutal. Vince McMahon tried to cancel the match. Cena threatened to walk. Punk played his power move. And in the end, both signed. Done deal. This wasn't about fisticuffs. It was about philosophy. What WWE was, what it could be, and who stood on either side of that line. Fans didn't need a punch to feel the impact. And that's why, to this day, it's remembered not for the chaos, but for the cold, uncomfortable truth that unfolded across that desk. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. At Extreme Rules 2015, tensions between the Beast Incarnate and the Architect were sky high. Just before their main event showdown, WWE brought them together for the contract signing, and sparks ignited instantly. Lesnar was brutal. He delivered a Samoan drop through the signing table itself, and with it came steel chairs, fists punching through paperwork, and no mercy. Lesnar spewed aggression. Rollins got hit and dragged into the chaos. Tables snapped, mic stands shattered, and both were bleeding before the bell even rang. This segment served up everything. It reminded everyone Lesnar's not just a fighter, he's a destroyer. Rollins got sympathy by enduring it, painting himself as determined underdog standing tall despite the carnage. The finish set the PPV tone. Extreme Rules felt legitimately extreme. Fans went wild online, praising WWE for delivering a preview that promised violence and unpredictability. Outlets called it a brutal masterclass, and it painted Lesnar as unstoppable, while giving Rollins grit street cred. Real-life inspiration? None, just WWE doubling down on their branding. But storyline-wise, it was gold. They turned a contract ritual into a beat-down teaser, and every table flip, fist throw, and ripped contract page reminded fans, this match will hurt. Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. This one started off smooth, but in typical WWE fashion, it didn't stay that way for long. In 2021, SmackDown hosted the official Universal Championship contract, signing between Roman Reigns and Finn Balor. Reigns strutted out with full tribal chief confidence, sat at the table, and dropped verbal jabs about Balor not belonging in the main event spotlight. Balor, cool as ever, didn't flinch. And just as he reached for the pin, Baron Corbin blindsided him out of nowhere. Corbin tossed Balor across the ring, snatched the contract, and looked ready to hijack the title match himself. It was a total ambush, classic Corbin chaos. But before he could sign, John Cena ran in, cleared Corbin out, and signed the contract himself, shocking everyone, including Reigns. No one expected that left turn. This wasn't your standard brawl, but it turned into a multi-layered mess that made the SummerSlam title picture feel anything but predictable. The moment played perfectly into WWE's knack for last-minute drama. Reigns kept his cool, Balor got robbed, Corbin got embarrassed, and Cena got the match. The whole scene had fans buzzing. Who's really getting the title shot? And more importantly, how long before someone else crashes the next contract signing? Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. This wasn't your average contract signing, it was more like epic collision prep. In 2016, WWE brought out Goldberg and Brock Lesnar on Raw to ink their upcoming showdown. It felt legendary. Two beasts face to face, eyes locked, tension thick. There wasn't much chaos during the signing, mostly intense stares and menacing mic work, but that's exactly what made it feel electric. Fans felt that ancient simmer of Lesnar versus Goldberg nostalgia boil over. B wearing the nostalgia hat, media described it as a ride back to early 2000s brutality. Many reacted with anticipation and also curiosity. What if this clash didn't live up to the hype? That question set up WrestleMania or Survivor Series level anticipation. The angle leaned heavily on real-life history. Goldberg had basically retired in 2004, Lesnar had been dominant, and neither had faced each other since WrestleMania 20. The tension was real. By keeping things calm but intense, WWE reminded fans, this isn't your standard match, it's a destruction event. The understated signing made the eventual match feel colossal. John Cena versus Edge. Picture this, May 2009, Raw. John Cena and Edge, two legends, sat at the desk to finalize a rematch contract. Cena hurled a mic at Edge, Edge tossed it back. Chairs were flown, fists landed. The signature moment, Cena caught Edge mid-slap and rolled into a full-force punch. Boom, we were off. The signing session became the match's opening bell. What made this so juicy? History. Cena and Edge were locked in a long feud with high-stakes drama, including Money in the Bank cash-ins and World Heavyweight chase. Their contract signing wasn't just legal paperwork, it aired decades of bad blood. It set tone immediately. This match will be personal, vicious, and unpredictable. Fans reacted with nostalgia overload. It reminded everyone why WWE loved drama beyond the ring. No real-world inspiration, just two guys who truly hated each other playing it up. And the payoff? It sold the match on sheer animosity. Randy Orton versus Edge. On May 18, 2020, Raw brought out Randy Orton and Edge for what looked like a straightforward contract signing. Edge accepted Randy's backlash challenge. Instead, it flipped into chaos faster than you can say RKO. As they sat at the table, Edge slapped his signature swagger, and Orton leaned in with a sinister grin. Before long, Edge charged, Orton dropped him, and the two launched into a brawl worthy of Rated RKO's legacy. Chairs flew, fists pummeled, and the table buckled. This segment wasn't just hype, it was a clash of eras. With Edge returning from a long injury hiatus and Orton seeking to remind everyone why he's the Viper, the brawl showed us both touch their old heat and new purpose. Fans cheered the blend of nostalgia and intensity, noting how WWE handled Edge's comeback like the blockbuster moment it was. Media buzzed about how WWE used that brawl to tell a story suddenly, keeping viewers guessing if the match would even happen on a clear TV timer. This wasn't inspired by real life, but it teased their shared history. Members of Rated RKO and fierce rivals. By letting them throw down in the signing, WWE elevated the upcoming Backlash match instantly. Edge got a surprise spotlight. Orton reminded everyone of his ruthlessness. Takeaway? It wasn't just a contract, it was a declaration of war. Triple H versus Brock Lesnar. Raw 2013 was stacked. Triple H and Brock Lesnar totaled authority figures, physicality, and legacy. They sat under a legal desk full of tension. The moment Triple H signed the contract for WrestleMania 29 came a shock. Paul Heyman stormed in, and the desk exploded into chaos. TV screens showed Lesnar launching H back first into the table. The iconic moment, Triple H then flipped the script. He grabbed the contract, clipped it on Heyman, and acted like he'd signed for himself. Mic drop. This segment was storytelling gold. It spelled out, if Triple H loses, he's retiring. That raised stakes sky high. Lesnar came across as the unstoppable beast incarnate. Triple H looked desperate, cunning, nostalgic, and wise. Fans went nuts. This was must-watch build-up for Mania. News outlets said it delivered more heat than a mini-match. Even better, real wrestling history inspired the confrontation. Paul Heyman's involvement brought real-life brand conflict. Lesnar's hardcore reputation versus Triple H's cerebral, plotting master persona. WWE used that clash perfectly to build anticipation for their no-holds-barred match. It wasn't just paperwork, it was manipulation, intimidation, threat, and chaos in one explosive moment. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. It was January 2015, the night before TakeOver, our Evolution. Sami Zayn, underdog hero, met longtime friend-turned-foe Kevin Owens across the table. Their contract signing unfolded with restraint, until Zayn tried to hug it out. Owens accepted the embrace, then powerbombed Zayn right through the signing desk. Boom. The table shattered, the crowd gasped, order collapsed right there in NXT. This installment wasn't just hype, it was the perfect symbolic moment for their storied relationship. These two had grown up together in the Indies, and Owens' betrayal was emotional, personal, and unavoidable. Sports outlets highlighted how it felt raw, and fans rallied around Sami, calling the attack brutal, unexpected, and deeply touching. It stoked the emotional core of their match. No real-life event fueled this. It was pure wrestling storytelling, but grounded in real history between the two. NXT gave them the space to sell it emotionally, and this brawl felt cinematic. By destroying the table, Owens wasn't just breaking wood, he shattered their friendship. It set the stage for an unforgettable match, one where tension was already at max before a bell ever sounded. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Picture this, the night after WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch is finally standing toe-to-toe with Charlotte Flair on Raw to sign their WrestleMania rematch contract. The tension's electric. Becky signs, and suddenly, Charlotte shoves her into the desk. Becky fights back, but Charlotte pulls off a slick neckbreaker right on the papers. That sparks a full-on desk brawl, with both women swinging chairs, smacking desk edges, and making it clear this was far from a friendly chat. This segment gave us a story hinting at more than a match. It was about pride and who owns the women's division. With Becky's new WWE champion swagger and Charlotte's legacy credentials, WWE used this signing chaos to prove that neither woman was backing down. Journalists said it had the drama of a soap opera and the punch of a ladder match. Fans cheered the raw energy and the equality of intensity. It absolutely felt earned. There's no real-life feud here, but there is real emotional history. These two have been competing since NXT, and wrestling fans have seen them grow up. This moment teased that WrestleMania rematch had more to it. This wasn't just athletic competition, it was a personal showdown. Simple table signing? Nope. It was street fight stakes without waiting for the bell. Styles versus John Cena. When AJ Styles debuted on WWE's main roster, his first major feud was with none other than John Cena. In SmackDown 2016, they sat down to sign the WrestleMania contract. Cena tossed in a "Welcome to WWE" mic line, and AJ tossed it back, styling on Cena. The tension built until AJ tore up the contract before Cena could sign. Then he slid across the desk, caught Cena off guard with a kick, and both men brawled through the table and outside. The signing segment served a big purpose. It introduced AJ as a serious threat, not just a fresh face. Cena, WWE's top star, got shown up. Fans got behind AJ, feeling Cena's throne was truly at risk. News outlets praised the signing as star-making. This angle set the stage for rematch mania, and the hype train ran full steam for weeks. No real-world drama inspired this. It was just perfect introduction pacing. The match at Mania was amazing, partly because WWE wisely made you believe AJ could win by ripping up that contract and pushing Cena through a table. That signature moment screamed, "Who's the next top guy?" Samoan Phenomenal. The Rock versus Roman Reigns. This contract signing packed nostalgia and future heat. In Riyadh, The Rock faced his real-life cousin, Roman Reigns, in front of tens of thousands. As Rock sarcastically signed, Roman's SmackDown music hit. He walked in, stared down The Rock, signed, and slapped the paper on the table. The tension was serious. There were no chairs, but a lot of eye contact. The electricity was real. Fans reacted with mixed excitement and caution. Some thrilled at the family storyline, others wary that this might be WWE trying to recreate old magic. Media described it as a family showdown on a global stage. The lack of chaos actually made it feel classy. This was about respect, legacy, and dominance. Their family connection added weight. Rock is an icon, Reigns is head of the table. It wasn't random. It was family passing litmus test. The calm, intense signing told us this is personal, generational, and big enough to headline any show. It sold as more than a match. This was family history in motion. Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. Okay, this one's a little cheat. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart never had a formal contract signing that blew up on screen, but the feud was so fiery it feels like one. The tension boiled over at Survivor Series 1997, the infamous Montreal Screwjob, and backstage drama followed. Shawn was scheduled to lose fairly in his own signature hold, but instead the referee rang the bell early, crowning Shawn the WWF champion behind Bret's back. Real life collided with kayfabe, causing Bret to confront Vince McMahon and actually knock him out. No contract signing needed when the whole world felt like a courtroom. This raw feud shaped wrestling history. Their backstage fight fez cemented their hatred, and for months the locker room was electric. Fans were shocked. News outlets called it career-defining betrayal. It eventually led to their long-awaited reconciliation in 2010. So while there wasn't a signed paper on screen, every handshake, stare down, and interview felt like a prelude to chaos. Their rivalry taught WWE a huge lesson. Real emotion can carry even without formal rituals. It elevated WWE storytelling forever. CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan. On July 2nd, 2012, Raw, WWE mixed two beloved fan favorites, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, into signing paperwork for a future championship showdown. Things stayed calm until Punk got frustrated, ripped up the contract mid-promo, shoved Bryan aside, and both men erupted, Fists flew, Bryan took a high-impact drop to the floor, and the contract lay shredded on the canvas. This segment carried heavy storytelling weight. Punk, the frustrated champion who left WWE in 2011, carried deep resentment and ego. Daniel Bryan, the scrappy underdog, had been forced to watch Punk leave with the title. The fight stole attention, setting their SummerSlam rematch on fire. News outlets buzzed. Fans believed Mode Punk was about to blow the roof off. No external events inspired this. It was WWE capturing indie wrestling bosses in main roster light. It teased a clash of styles, Punk's cold confidence versus Bryan's passionate grit. The contract brawl didn't just sell a fight, it sold identity. It was a battle for validation as much as gold. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. The pay-per-view build to WrestleMania 38 got its first real spark on February 25, 2022 SmackDown. Universal Champion Roman Reigns faced WWE Champion Brock Lesnar to sign a historic winner-takes-all contract. Peace lasted about 5 seconds. Lesnar headbutted a security guard, then spearheaded Reigns into a table. The crowd went ballistic. Cameras zoomed on Heyman's eyes, soaking up every second. Lesnar flexed, Reigns stood defiant. The contract? Still unsigned, hanging in limbo. This wasn't nostalgia, it was legacy. Real bloodline stakes versus Suplex City chaos. Lesnar's contract scene solidified their collision as more than WrestleMania fodder. It was WWE history-making. Fans loved the nods to past fights while feeling Reigns' dominance chillingly intact. News outlets praised the tension and bloodline gravity. No real drama outside the ring, just legendary storytelling. This moment proved WWE still knows how to build a headline event. With two biggest titans clashing in contract theater, fans said, "It's this Mania or nothing." Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. On July 1st, 2019, Raw, WWE rolled out Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins to officially lock in their clash at a future PPV. It kicked off like any contract signing, pens, cameras, promos, but Owens went for a power move. He snatched the pen, got up in Rollins' face, shouted a challenge, then introduced a brutal pop-up powerbomb through the table. Glass shattered, Rollins crashed. Chaos smiled. This moment was a microcosm of their storyline. Two guys at different points in their careers battling for validation. Owens had to prove he belonged at the top. Rollins aimed to show he still rules. It sold on ego and the need to break the other's spirit before the match. Fans love seeing a mid-card bout escalate to main event territory without waiting weeks. Ring announcers even called it the perfect snapshot of their conflict. No real-world inspiration, just storytelling fuel. But the segment buzzed online, with fans calling it the most savage signing in years. News outlets added that it spilled more energy than a 10-minute brawl. By signing with violence, Owens earned instant credibility. And Rollins, he earned your sympathy and new motivation when he elbowed back later. Takeaway, contract signing, or power move? With these two, it's both. It forced viewers to grab their popcorn early and internalize the question, who walks away with the paper and the win? Randy Orton versus John Cena. Back in December 2013, WWE was heating stakes for Royal Rumble. Raw brought Cena and Orton to sign their Rumble Showdown contract. And again, we got textbook-rated RKO fire. Orton leaned casually, Cena threw a glare, and then bam, Cena nailed an attitude adjustment, table collapsed, and Orton grabbed Cena's throat across the signature sheet. The announcers barely kept up. This contract segment spoke volumes about their rivalry. Cena's fight for respect theme clashed with Orton's cold calculation. Instead of hype words, they used fists and a table bait. The signing previewed a mini-main event shellacked into early hours of Raw. Fans responded with anticipation for a forthcoming physical match, knowing what those two had been through. News media called it a nostalgic throwback, reminding older fans of their WrestleMania magic. Nothing in real life influenced it, but it tapped Raw formula. Give them enough recognition, then drop the hammer, literally. It was editing brevity taken to perfection. Both walked away battered, but listeners got the ping. This Rumble rematch is going to be a slugfest. Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. On August 20th, 2017, WWE turned up the heat before SummerSlam with a rare broadcast kickoff show contract signing. Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. They sat silent, locked in dark stares. No promos, just tension. When the officials pressed the pen on the contract, Wyatt snatched it, snarled, and pushed it against Balor's throat, eyes wild. Balor snapped back. Boom! They traded swift, hard strikes, crashing through the table with a thud that echoed toward the arena. This signing captured the psychological war brewing between Prince and Fiend. Wyatt didn't need words, body language did the pain talking. Baylor's fangs came out too, and in one plume of shattering table and smashed pens, the message was clear. This match won't be wrestling. It's mind games and raw physical storytelling. Fans loved the eerie build. This wasn't WWE's typical contract flair. News outlets described it as psychological brutality and said the table breakup reflected what fans were expecting, a match for the souls. No real-world controversy here, just storytelling meant to creep you out. WWE used silence and tension to provoke curiosity and shout, "This match might get weird and you better watch." Edge versus Christian. Who'd have thought former best buds would tear each other up in a desk signing? On the July 5th, 2021, Raw, Edge, and Christian reunited. Surprise. But the chill reunion quickly turned ugly. As they faced off to sign a tag team contract, they were teaming against The Miz and John Morrison. Edge casually signed. Christian tried to follow, but Edge shoved him, slammed the pen, and it triggered a sudden brawl. Splash from the desk, clotheslines over photographers, and 3 pens flying midair. It was wonderfully meta, 2 legendary pals beaten by brotherly energy. And for WWE fans, it was a delightful payoff of long-standing electric chairs and pretzels nostalgia. It wasn't inspired by real life, they get along off-screen, but it played to shared history for emotional payoff. Fans were buzzing. They loved the flashback, but also the edge of unpredictability. This segment turned a routine signing into nostalgia dipped in violence. And the story then became, can 2 best friends still work together, or does old tension explode under pressure? It gave their upcoming tag title chase added layers. Unresolved friction. It was exactly what fans needed. A sweet reunion, a brutal surprise, and the promise of wrestling magic. It nailed the feel-good nostalgia with a twist. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. Deadman versus Beast isn't a phrase you toss lightly. On November 26, 2022, WWE aired a SmackDown pre-show contract signing between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar for a next-gen deathmatch-style showdown. The atmosphere, ominous. Lights down, Undertaker walked in, Lesnar looked stone cold. They signed calmly, face-to-face, then simply stared, as if the table held decades of untouchable history. No wrestling erupted during the signing, but the silence was deafening. Fans responded with a mix of nostalgia and bone-deep excitement. They remembered past encounters, and this felt like a ghost returning for revenge. Wrestling media called it haunting, respectful, powerful. A contract signing that felt like a ritual. Real-life backstory fueled the mood. These two have brutal matches at WrestleMania and SummerSlam. This wasn't just WWE marketing, it was a long-developing legacy setup. By keeping the signing solemn, WWE told us, this is more than violence, it's legacy, and it deserves respect. The build didn't need props or chairs, just legends and intention. The hush before the storm felt earned. Nikki Bella versus Brie Bella. WrestleMania Fallout peaked on April 13th, 2015. When Nikki and Brie Bella, real-life sisters with real-life drama, sat down for a surprisingly intense contract chat for their first ever singles match. The vibe, uncomfortable. Nikki started as champion, Brie started as challenger. They exchanged pensive words, a few jabs, and when Brie reached a sign, Nikki snatched the pen, tossed it aside, and decked Brie with a steel slap on TV. That slap echoed years of Bella family tension. It wasn't scripted off camera, it was storyline, but played to their actual family-tested division. Fans were riveted. The sister angle felt invested, unscripted, emotionally raw. Some news outlets described it as reality TV meets wrestling. People felt it pulled back a curtain on the family's deeper split. This segment was storytelling brilliance. It wasn't about gold, it was about identity, pride, and broken bonds. It fueled a narrative where this match wasn't just first-time singles, it was personal, a ride to redemption, pain, and ownership. WWE leaned into the raw, personal vibe, giving both ladies emotional stakes far beyond a title. The Miz versus R-Truth. Here's a fun one. On January 4th, 2021, Raw, The Miz, and R-Truth came out to sign their mixed tag team qualifying match contract. It looked harmless. Miz pontificating, Truth chilling. Then Truth casually threw his pen off screen, and when Miz scoffed, Truth slapped another, only to get straight into an impromptu table break and ghetto stomps from Miz's side. Mic stands came into play as weapons. Truth fought back with swagger. This moment was WWE comedy extreme, slightly ridiculous, thoroughly entertaining. It wasn't real-world inspired, it was just characters in throttle. Fans laughed, then pumped fists. News coverage called it comic chaos at its finest. It warmed the heart needed before a mid-season Raw. Narratively, it turned a light storyline into something more playful. It said, these guys might qualify for a match, but they're going in swinging. It also reminded viewers that not all signings need tables to break. They can just break the vibe with humor. It's WWE flexing the sitcom line in wrestling. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Now this one hit deep. On June 5th, 2023, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, once allies in legacy, now full-blown rivals, sat down on Raw to sign for their high-stakes clash at Money in the Bank. The moment Orton signed, Cody stood, stared, and calmly slid the contract back across the table. You could feel the tension, and then boom, Cody flipped the table, launching it into Orton's chest, and hit Crossroads right onto the table wreckage. This wasn't just about competition, it was about identity. Randy was the legacy gatekeeper, and Cody, the guy trying to reclaim a legacy of his own. The brawl drove that home. Fans felt it. This wasn't cartoon anger, it felt personal. Even without a title on the line, this felt like a main event feud built on respect and betrayal. Nothing real life fueled this angle, but it played off years of WWE history. Cody's rise, Orton's mentorship, and both their evolutions. It also helped sell Cody as unpredictable. Not just flashy, but someone who could flip a contract into a statement. That single table flip said, "I'm not here to talk. I'm here to finish what you started." Stone Cold versus The Rock. If you're talking legendary contract signings, Stone Cold versus The Rock in 2001 is one of the all-timers. On March 12, 2001, two of WWE's biggest icons sat across from each other to sign the dotted line for WrestleMania X7. Both men delivered mic work that sizzled, Austin promising he needed the win more than anything, and Rock smirking back like only he can. Then the gloves came off, Austin slapped the table, The Rock tossed the chair, and seconds later, a full brawl broke out. Stunners, spinebusters, beer cans flying, and shattered monitors. No one was surprised, but everyone loved it. This wasn't about personal grudges, it was about who's the guy. Two faces of the Attitude Era colliding. WWE used the signing to hint at tension beneath the surface. Austin said he'd do anything to win, and at Mania, he did, even turning heel with Vince. Looking back, the contract chaos foreshadowed it all. Fans were electric. Media called it textbook buildup. It didn't rely on props, it relied on presence. These were two megastars doing what they did best, selling a match by making the crowd believe something massive was coming. Spoiler alert, it was. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button because there's more coming your way.